Here's to all the late night drunk phone calls that you picked up. Here's to all the bad decisions that you didn't judge. All the love yous and the hate yous and secrets that you told me. Here's to everyone but mostly us. There's a couple billion people in the world, and a million other places we could be, but you're here with me. Take a moment just to take it in, 'cause every high and every low led to this. I'm just so glad you exist. Hey, look what a hello from a stranger turned into.
Wait, did you turn it on? No, I turned it off. Wait, are we ready?
Yeah, let's even the Zoom session. We're all good.
Yeah, you can chat. Are we ready? Wait, we're ready? Are we ready? How do we know when they're starting the live stream? Wait, Sean! Oh wait, are you gonna be giving us cues? Is the live stream going? Oh, it's already going. Oh, it's already going. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Are you nervous? Are you?
We're streaming.
Okay, thank you. Is the mic on? Yeah. Hello?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to HackMIT 2021. I'm Catherine, the co-director of HackMIT.
And I'm Kat, a member of HackMIT's logistics and DevOps teams.
So our team has been working tirelessly over the last few months to make our first ever hybrid hackathon a success. And while we wish we could have every participant sitting in our auditorium right now, we're still very excited to show you all what we have in store for the next 24 hours.
This year, we have 4 tracks that are available to our hackers: education, healthcare, sustainability, and community. You don't need to submit your project to any of these tracks, but we highly recommend that you do, because each track has a top prize for their top submission.
This year's hybrid format will give both virtual and in-person hackers opportunities to engage with sponsors, ask for help from mentors, and participate in mini events and workshops. So if you're watching us on our YouTube live stream, tell us what you're most excited for this weekend in the chat.
Yay! And to kick off this opening ceremony, we'll be hearing from our first keynote speaker, Frida Poli, the co-founder and CEO of Pymetrics, a company dedicated to helping everyone realize their true potential at work by removing bias from the talent matching process and improving job fit. And now we're going to be moving on to a pre-recorded video where she'll be sharing all about the Pymetrics story.
Hey, everybody. My name is Dr. Frida Poli, and I am so excited to be here with you guys today. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about my founding story in the hopes of inspiring other entrepreneurs, and also tell you a little bit more about the technology that we've brought into the world. So without further ado, I'm going to share some slides because I think that's always a good way to storytell. And again, pleasure to be here with you guys, and hopefully you're enjoying the day. So Pymetrics is a technology that I started a little while ago now. I was an academic scientist at Harvard and MIT for about a decade, and I was super excited about the research we were doing. I was a little less excited about the fact that I didn't think it had a lot of real world impact. So I actually went to business school, got a fellowship to go to business school, and it was there that I had a front row seat to recruiting for 2 years. And I just realized that there was a tremendous amount of bias and inaccuracy in recruiting that I felt that our technology could solve for. And so that was kind of the genesis of Pymetrics, the origin story. It was also compounded by the fact that as a single parent wanting to be a tech founder, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me in the tech world. And so that was another problem or challenge that I was trying to solve for as I started to think about what a better solution to the problem of accurate and fair recruiting would look like. But before I get into the technology we built, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about myself, and hopefully some of this resonates with all of you as you think about your entrepreneurial journey. So in a lot of ways, I was born really lucky. I was born into privilege. I didn't suffer poverty or any socioeconomic challenges. There were two ways in which I think my sense of empathy, though, for those who had less were developed. One is that my mom suffered from schizophrenia, and so it just gave me a very strong sense of wanting to help people. I saw her suffer throughout my entire life, and I was just really eager to find a way that I could use, my privilege to help others who are less fortunate. And it's actually why I became a scientist, a neuroscientist at that, was to understand the human brain better. And then the other thing that, was occurring side by side with my privilege is that, I grew up in a very patriarchal home. And so the concept of bias was something that I was very aware of from an early age. And it was something that I really started to think about deeply and started to think about what are the ways in which we can overcome human bias. So I think both the experience with bias as well as my mom's struggle with schizophrenia really led me to a career in neuroscience. And I was really fortunate and excited and very fulfilled to spend a decade in academia at Harvard and MIT as a cognitive scientist. And it was a wonderful time, and there were lots of discoveries in neuroscience at that time, and it really felt like we were on the cutting edge of a wonderful technology. In my mid-30s, I kind of went through a series of changes, one of which is that I became a single parent breadwinner and making a postdoc salary of $37,000 a year. And I just really realized the importance of access to well-paying employment. So what that led me to do is essentially think to myself, I really love being a scientist, but I also want to have a more real world application for my science. And so what does that look like? So I was fortunate. I got a fellowship to go to the business school at Harvard. They were looking for life scientists who were eager to commercialize science. And it was there that I really was able to think for 2 years as to how one might commercialize the science that we had been developing in the lab. And what that led me to realize is that in this sort of front row seat that I had to recruiting, a big problem that people faced in the world of employment was not being able to assess a human being holistically. People are looking at resumes, and resumes are wonderful, but they're very backwards looking. They're not really helping us understand raw human potential for a job. They're far more interested in sort of what you have done rather than what you could do. And so that led me to think like, hey, we've had this amazing scientific evolution over the last couple of decades that have really allowed us to assess people more holistically, look at their raw potential rather than just their pedigree. And how could that translate into a technology that is both scalable but also far more equitable? And that's how Pymetrics came to be. It was really trying to reinvent the concept of recruiting, mobility, reskilling, learning and development, all of the ways in which we think about human beings and their potential for employment, and looking at it from the lens of how do we assess somebody's raw potential for a role or a career rather than really being focused on their pedigree. And so that led to Pymetrics. And so Pymetrics is a technology which we say exists to challenge the status quo. There's lots of lovely things about the status quo, but there's lots of not so lovely things. And so our whole vision is a world where everyone's true potential is realized. And the way that we achieve that vision is through the mission of connecting everyone with their best fit job. So I'm going to get into a little bit about what does that mean and how does Pymetrics work. So what we're trying to do is disrupt the status quo with behavioral science and artificial intelligence. Historically, we've relied heavily on legacy methods. I'm sure you're all familiar with these legacy methods. They involve resume reviews, they involve standardized testing, they involve all of the ways in which we've historically been judged as human beings. And what we're trying to do is instead of engaging in those legacy practices, what we'd like to do is understand that human beings can be evaluated in a much more holistic way that on the one hand can evaluate someone based on their soft skills or their raw potential for a job, but also can be unbiased in a way that human decision making cannot. And we believe that the combination of raw potential evaluation with unbiased technology can really unlock access to diverse, high potential talent that status quo practices miss. So again, if we have any doubts as to why traditional people science is limiting, I don't think we have to look very far. We've all been through these processes. We've all been through standardized testing. We've all been through the painful exercise of cutting and pasting our resume into a text box on an application. And we've all been through painful manual processes. And all of these processes really miss this concept of allowing human potential to shine through above all else. And they rely on very legacy ways of evaluating people. The reason that these processes are so problematic is that they not only fail to evaluate people holistically, but they also rely on human decision making. And again, as a cognitive scientist, and I'm sure some of you are, studying cognitive science, the problem with human decision making is that it has the inherent human flaw of bias. And there are lots of evolutionary reasons why bias is present in all decision making. So we can't argue with evolution. However, what we have realized is that it's really impossible to remove bias from the human brain. And the potential of ethically built technology is that we actually can find a way to mitigate the bias that is otherwise impossible to remove from the human brain. So you might ask, well, how is that even possible? I've heard all of these horror stories about how AI is only going to scale human bias and, so on and so forth. That's potentially true. AI could scale human bias, although there's nothing more scalable than human decision making. However, I'm here to tell you that that doesn't have to be the case, and that unlike human decision making, AI can be actively debiased, and there's some pretty straightforward steps that we take here at Pymetrics to ensure that. One is that we use data that is equally distributed across gender, race, and socioeconomic status. Secondly, we dual optimize all of our algorithms for both performance and lack of racial or gender bias. And so we don't release an algorithm unless we can make sure that it's compliant with those. And then last but not least, we're continually monitoring our technology to ensure that it's not leading to bias. So again, I think the basic idea of the platform is that we are evaluating people in a much more holistic way, and then we are ensuring that that evaluation is coupled with artificial intelligence that is built and continually monitored to be lacking in racial or ethnic bias. This type of technology can be used across many aspects of human decision-making in the employment space. It can be used for talent acquisition, mobility, reskilling, learning and development, and so on and so forth. But again, the core premise is the concept that using modern cognitive science, we can evaluate cognitive, social, and emotional aptitudes in people in a way that was not previously possible. And we can marry that with algorithms that are designed to be equitable. The very real problem that we're trying to solve for, and this is what excited me so much in terms of starting from an academic perspective and wanting to solve a large real world problem, is that currently not only is the workforce quite lacking in diversity, but there are all sorts of challenges in terms of efficiency, effectiveness, and other aspects of human decision-making in employment decisions that really lead to suboptimal outcomes. And what we found is that using a system that marries unbiased data with ethical artificial intelligence, we can actually drive both the promotion of talent that is much more likely to stay longer, perform better, and so on and so forth, but also at the same time be a talent pool that is far more likely to be excited and satisfied with the positions that they find themselves in, but also much more diverse. And so at scale, a solution like PyMetrics, and again, there are others out there, so I'm encouraging you to think about this not as a single solution, but as a concept of how technology can really enable better outcomes across the board. PyMetrics allows for really better decision-making in all aspects of talent and in a very scalable way. And what's kind of amazing about this is that we've enabled companies to have better insights into the way companies operate, what makes their human capital tick, what is it that's unique about their human capital, like just it's a diagnostic system that really is like a radar for companies to understand what makes different people in different roles unique and excited and happy to be in those roles. And again, it can span everything from talent acquisition to mobility and reskilling to redirection of talent. So it's a very broad and scalable platform. You might be asking yourself, this all sounds wonderful. How do you actually do this? It's actually, the amazing piece is that it leverages existing technology. And that was what was so exciting to me, is that, we're actually, the federal government spends billions of dollars on bench research, and a lot of that never actually makes it into the real world. And so what was very exciting to me about this opportunity is that we're taking, very well researched and tested academic science that has been developed in cognitive neuroscience labs for the last couple of decades, and using that to really power a completely novel experience. So what we do is we take well-established scientific activities that look at things like decision-making, focus, attention, emotional aptitude, and take that behavioral data and allow that to provide a much more holistic picture of a person. And these types of activities then, coupled with the ethically designed artificial intelligence that we have also developed, really lead to some pretty amazing outcomes. And I think that's, again, if I'm here to inspire a generation of entrepreneurs, I think what I would love to leave this audience with is that when you apply science that has been validated and machine learning that has been well developed, the impact that you can have on the world is pretty amazing. And I'll never forget the first client that we had where we deployed this technology, and they were able not only to do things in a more efficient way, that's kind of table stakes, but to find people that were, happier in their jobs and better performing, but also at the same time coming from a much more diverse candidate pool, and we're also having a better experience going through the process. I mean, that was sort of like, it just, kind of made, it kind of made it just was so inspiring to me. And as an anecdote, that client went from, recruiting from a pretty homogenous group of campuses, they were using it for their early career program, to hiring such a broad intern class that they actually had to change their relocation policies because people that were accepting their internships were not the same people that had previously been coming into their internship program, to the point where they were like, hey, I don't actually have the means to fly cross country and rent an apartment and furnish that apartment. That's something that I'm not capable of doing on my own. I actually need support from the company to do that. And it was only then that they realized what a sort of homogenous group of people that they had been hiring from before. And again, there wasn't anything wrong with their previous hiring practices, but using this new technology, they were able to allow access to such a broader pool of people than they previously had before. So that, to me, as a applied scientist, that is what makes all of this worth it, is that, the type of science that was previously only utilized in the lab is now having impact at scale in such a meaningful way that I think it really speaks volumes to why applied science is so important. So I'm just going to leave you guys with this idea that taking a scientific concept that has been incubating in the lab for some period of time and really figuring out, how do I take that concept and apply it broadly to a problem, whatever that problem is, that's really critical to society. And I think that, like, in this day and age, there's nothing more critical than allowing equal opportunity to well-paying employment. I think that's sort of core to our to allowing our society to progress in an equitable way. And there's really been nothing more fulfilling for me than being able to be a part of translating science, which is so important to me as a scientist, into a technology that can actually have the power to really transform people's lives. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you learned something. And thanks for having me.
Thank you so much to Frida. Thank you so much for sharing your story and Pymetric's story. And hopefully some of our hackers here can draw inspiration from the founding of Pymetrics. And now we'll be returning to our presentation. Can you put it full screen?
And as all of you know, HackMIT wouldn't be possible without the support of our sponsors, and we are grateful for all of their continued support of college hackers like you. To begin, we have a representative from our Diamond sponsor, Neurodiversity in the Workplace. Welcome to the stage.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Riddle. I am the leader of a team from Neurodiversity in the Workplace. For the hackers that are here, anyone know that term? Raise your hand if you know the term neurodiversity. Okay, a couple of hands. That's good. So I'll define it for you really quickly and cover the who, what, why, where, when, and how of what we're doing here. So who we are, Neurodiversity in the Workplace, we're a nonprofit consultancy, and we help design inclusion programs for our company partners. And so we're really here on the behalf of the need of our company partners such as Dell Technologies, Bank of America, VMware, and even MIT. So what we're here to do and what we do is we try to create skill-based hiring programs for neurodivergent talent. And when I say the word neurodivergence, typically referring to anything that differs from neurotypicality. So that often includes autism, ADD, ADHD. And what we find so often is that neurodivergent talent struggles through the interview process. We heard a very similar story about how the talent acquisition process can be extremely biased. And we find that that's really true for neurodivergent talent, for autistic job seekers looking for roles, despite having all of the skills that they've learned in places like MIT and places like Harvard. And what we try to do is design a skill-based system for them to present their skills directly to hiring managers. How we do that is a little different each time. Right now, it's really manual. And so the why we're here. We're coming to all of you to challenge you to help us figure out a better system. Help us figure out how we can take into account the needs of neurodivergent talent. Help us to figure out how we can make the workplace more socially accessible for people and solve some of these key issues. So the why, that's the why. The where, when, and how, I want to leave up to all of you. We need your help. We want to figure out how to do this better. Our company partners are really relying on us to help make them more inclusive. You saw some of the stats from Pymetric about how a diverse and inclusive workplace increases productivity and really benefits everyone who's working in any environment. So please help us stop by our booth, learn more about what we do, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd also love to get any resumes as we work through our hiring process for our company partners. But good luck and Godspeed as you go throughout the weekend. So thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Next up is another one of our Diamond sponsors, Premier, who will be joining us via a Zoom feed. Let's all welcome Lindsay Powers.
Thank you so much, and good morning, hackers. I'm Lindsay Powers, Senior Vice President of People at Premier Inc. and a proud sponsor of this year's HackMIT. I wanted to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about our company. When I proudly joined Premier 5 years ago, I knew quickly that I had joined an organization that was truly doing meaningful work. In a growth mindset organization like Premier, you need to wake up every day ready to be better than you were yesterday and ask yourself how you could be better tomorrow than you were today. At Premier, we do not take comfort in the expected or easy path, and that's why we're here. We are constantly challenging ourselves on how to deliver the healthiest society by solving the greatest challenges our healthcare systems and providers face every day. We have seen a greater need, of course, in this time, in this last year and a half, that we have all together seen ourselves through a global pandemic and continue to face challenges of that today. And of course, our systems and communities need our help more now than ever. As a healthcare improvement company, we could not be more excited to join you for this event, bringing the best and brightest students from across the world. Premier, alongside 4,400 US hospital systems and more than 225,000 other providers and organizations, work to deliver together high quality, low cost care. As an industry leader, Premier has created one of the most comprehensive databases of actionable data, clinical best practices, and efficiency improvement strategies. Our technology platform, recently launched as Pink AI, includes a groundbreaking combination of data technology and scale designed to accelerate ingenuity in healthcare. We believe healthcare is about doing what's right and what's best for our communities. Examples of our work include providing clinicians timely, critical insights to help define the best treatments for a patient, connecting people to necessary care faster with less paperwork, saving providers millions of dollars through automation of purchasing and payment processes, building a smarter end-to-end supply chain to ensure providers always have the access to competitive, stable, and diverse market of pharmaceuticals, devices, and medical supplies. And finally, working with employers also to deliver the best care with the best value to their employees. At Premier, we're delivering these solutions and more to truly transform healthcare from the inside. We're proud to be named one of the world's most ethical companies 13 years in a row, and we are well equipped to help fuel smart innovation into the healthcare industry. We ask ourselves how we're doing every day. Did we help a physician make a better decision today? Have we changed the way healthcare is provided to an entire population? Did we improve access to life-saving products and therapies? And were we able to eliminate a wasteful task? For the members that we serve, our customers that we partner with, and our advocates, the resounding answer is yes. My colleagues and I look forward to joining you over the next several days and learning more about your perspectives on healthcare data and technology, and inviting you in to Premier. Good luck, have fun, and be well.
Thanks, Lindsay. We're super excited to have Premier at HackMIT this weekend. And now let's return to our presentation. Next, we're welcoming the MIT student a cappella group Syncopation, MIT's co-ed East Asian music a cappella group. They celebrate East Asian pop culture at MIT through their eclectic a cappella repertoire, featuring songs in English, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and other East Asian languages.
Today, they'll be performing 2 songs, Flowers, originally performed by the Tech Thieves, and I Will Show You, originally performed by Eileen. Welcome Syncopation to the stage.
One, two, three, four.
I've been looking around for the answer. You decide what we have in the future. Yeah, your grip is too tight and I'm bruising. Dig your nails in the life that I knew. Just look you need tears apart. Just let me go. 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 I couldn't be what you needed, couldn't I felt so low when I held you too. Just let me go. Yeah, your grip is too tight and I'm bruising. Dig your nails in my life and I knew. No, it's not love. go. Oh, 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 oh. Just let me go. No, just let me go. No, go, go, just let me go. Just let me go. Go, go. No, no, please, just let me go. 내가 써준 노수 고치고 내가 써준 향수 뿌리고 지금쯤 넌 분명 하나 또 웃고 있겠지 그렇게 좋아하던 거니 난 버리고 떠난 만큼 얼마나도 어떻게도 잘해야 한 거니 너를 아무리 지울래도 함께 하나리 얼마인데 지난 시간이요 그래서 자꾸 눈물이 흐르지만 보여줄게 완전히 달라진 나 보여줄게 훨씬 더 예뻐진 나 바보처럼 사랑 때문에 너 때문에 오지 않을래 더 멋진 남자 만나 또 보여줄게 너무나 행복하나 너 없이도 슬프지 않아 무너지지 않아 보이가 돼 라라라라 산뜻하게 머리 바꾸고 정승 부려 화장도 하고 하이힐에 적은 치마 머름 날 돌아봐 우연이라도 너 만나면 눈부시게 웃어주며 너는 네 모습 뒤로 한채 또각또각 걸어가려 해 보여줄게 완전히 달라진 나 보여줄게 훨씬 더 예뻐진 나 바보처럼 사랑 때문에 너 때문에 오지 않을래 더 멋진 남자 만나 또 보여줄게 너무나 행복하구나 너 없이도 슬프지 않아 무너지지 않아 Boy gotta be away 라라라라라 네가 줬던 반지 버리고 네가 썼던 편지 지우고 미련 없이 후회 없이 잊어줄 거야 너를 잊을래 너를 잊을래 보여줄게 완전히 달라진 나 보여줄게 훨씬 더 예뻐진 나 바보처럼 사랑 때문에 넌 때문에 오지 않을래 또 멋진 남자 만나 너무 행복하나 슬프지 않아 무너지지 않아 라라라라라
Thank you so much, Syncopation. That was amazing. Let's give them another round of applause.
Next up, we'll be hearing from our two-time sponsor, or two-time platinum sponsor, I should say, InterSystems. Welcome, InterSystems.
Thank you. Good morning. Isn't it great to actually be here for the event? Thank you for coming out. We're really thrilled to be a sponsor for HackMIT. InterSystems is creative data technology company based here in Cambridge that a lot of folks perhaps haven't heard of, but we're about solving some of the world's biggest and most complicated problems leveraging data. In fact, in North America, more than half of electronic medical records are processed using our technology. Over 15% of global equity trades are also processed using our technology. So these are very complex, integrated systems, and there's a lot at stake. As I said, we're really thrilled to be here today as part of the healthcare track because there's a lot of really important work that can be done in healthcare. Not only all of the major medical breakthroughs that are out there, but frankly, harnessing the digital footprint of what's going on to learn more, to create better and more effective outcomes and treatments, to take costs out of the system, and certainly it's a very personal thing that we can all experience in our day-to-day lives. We actually have a bunch of mentors here to help through the process. We've got a booth as well, folks to help you through, and resources on hackmit2021.isccloud.io. It's a really exciting time, not just because of the hackathon and the technology, but also what's happening in the world, not only with the digitization of footprints of medical processes, procedures, outcomes, and transactions, but combining that with standards that have been adopted for data interchange across different systems, and of course, cloud resources, making it very easy to spin up, experiment, learn things, and improve outcomes. So, as I mentioned, putting all these things together make it a really great time in this space. Makes it very exciting for us to be here and interact and learn from you all. And while we're working together, take time again at our booth. And if you think this is really exciting, we're also obviously growing very rapidly and looking to hire more people to help continue our mission of improving outcomes for our clients, their clients, and patients around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, InterSystems. And we're super excited to see what InterSystems has in store this weekend. And last but not least, we have one of our longest running sponsors, IBM, in partnership with the MIT IBM Watson AI Lab. Welcome John Cohn from the MIT IBM Lab to the stage.
Oh, it feels so good to be here. I am John Cohn from the MIT IBM Lab, and I have been at IBM for 40 years. And that's actually, no, it's 40 years, 15 days, and 3 hours. And I started my career in this very room 44 years ago as an undergraduate. So can I take a real quick selfie? Is that going to work? Where's my phone? Yeah, I'll do it. Oh, here we go. Okay. Everyone smile. Wait, smile. Okay, cool. But I've been a lifelong hacker, and I'm so glad that you're here using your technology to help for good. I was one of the co-creators of Vomit, Vermont's own MIT club, but what really brings me here today is being a fellow at the MIT IBM Watson AI Lab. We've been going for almost 4 years. We just moved into a beautiful building right on campus, and we are doing projects in collaboration. We're half MIT, half IBM. We have about 60 projects, everything from microcontrollers to supercomputers. And we've got every kind of AI, neurosymbolic, robotics, and AI fairness. And we have a lot of passion for trying to help you here. What we're doing today is in conjunction with the Call for Code, where IBM is one of the key sponsors, but along with companies like, well, organizations like the Linux Foundation. And what we're doing today is we're asking you to hack on climate-related issues, including clean water, zero hunger, or anything having to do with sustainability. And we have fabulous prizes. Well, we have $1,750 for the winning team, $750 for the follow-up team, and $500 for the third level team. And we can tell you how to compete with the Call for Code Global Challenge, where there's $200,000 and your opportunity to actually deploy in the real world. And we're several years into that. The only requirement is that you get to use any of our cloud or any of our 120 APIs or climate data. And to help with that, we've got a really great team. We're still in the point where our company can't travel, so we have the people who are here helping us with mentors are local, and we've got fabulous people there. And then out in the stratosphere, where a lot of you hackers are, we have more. So please come visit us at sponsor.IBM in the hack, and we'll really help you out how you can use those APIs. You also might want to visit tonight at 10 o'clock. The fabulous UpCar LIDAR will tell you how to get started fast with IBM Cloud. And we're just so proud to be here, so happy to be here. It's so nice to be able to smell people again. And just thank you for devoting your energies to helping the world, using your tech. Hopefully this is something you're going to do out in the rest of the world. Just go make something beautiful, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, John, and congratulations on being here for over 40 years. Finally, to wrap up our line of guest speakers, we're happy to introduce Robin Chase, the co-founder and former CEO of Zipcar. Let's all welcome Robin to the stage.
And the clicker. Hi, you guys. This is my first talk in a year and a half that's live. Amazing, so thank you for being here. I wanted to take it up to a different level, kind of more general. If I think about the three biggest problems, overarching all problems, it's democracy, climate change, and inequality. I'm going to talk a little bit about climate change and inequality. I have to admit, I'm going to start with getting us really depressed, but I promise to go on to happier things after that. This is a chart from NOAA of, is average Earth's temperature over a year warmer or colder than the industrial average? If you've been born since 1980, and I bet almost everyone here has been, you have never experienced a colder than average year. The last decade was the warmest one ever recorded. July this year was the hottest month ever recorded. On the 17th of June in the Arctic, it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So the pace and urgency, I want you all to keep that front of mind, at least for the next few minutes, and as you go on to think about what you're going to be working on. These issues of democracy, climate change, and inequality are ones that are in every single field. There's nothing that is exempt from addressing these issues. I think that we're living in this fossil fuel-soaked economy, and so no matter what you're doing, you touch it and you contribute it, and we all have to figure out how to get to net zero very quickly. Importantly, we have 8 years to reduce emissions by 50%. That feels implausible, doesn't it? If we don't do that, to hold it to 1.5 degrees, I don't have time, I'm not going to go through the difference between 1.5 and 2 degrees, but it is a huge, gigantic difference. Just one that I have memorized. At 2 degrees, at 1.5 degrees, 70% of coral reefs are gone. At 2 degrees, 100% of coral reefs are gone. And those are, of course, the nurseries for the oceans. So we really, really have to do this implausible thing of reducing emissions by 1.5 degrees in the next 8 years. So I'm going to start by asking you guys a survey question. And so I'm going to tee up the question, and then we'll vote. And everyone at home, I need you to be paying attention and have your piece of paper and get ready to vote as well. So my question is, do you think existing companies and existing governments will evolve fast enough to address climate change and inequality, or will they move too slowly and people rise up in revolt? So the question I'm going to ask you is, do you think the next 5 or 10 years are ones of evolution or ones of revolution? So first off, I need this to be anonymous. Everyone shut your eyes. Okay? Eyes shut. I see some eyes open. Shutting some eyes, please pay attention. Shut your eyes. If you think the future is one of evolution, please raise your hands. Okay, put your hands down, please close. Take them closed. If you think the future is one of revolution, please raise your hands. Okay, keep your hands up, and everyone open your eyes. If you elsewhere could see, we have about 70% of the audience who's saying it's revolution. I've been giving this survey to probably 100 talks I've given over the last few years, and people are voting revolution between 70 and 90% of the audience. That is shocking, because revolution is 30 years of suffering and chaos, and none of us really want revolution. So I need us all to become revolutionary evolutionists. We need to move much, much faster. We need to take it seriously, and when you're thinking that you're pushing the envelope and that it's implausible, remember that when you looked around, 70% of the people around you also think we have to move faster. So really the mission for all of us is to move faster and faster. And to this end, my friend Bruce Schneier talked earlier this week to you guys. He's writing a book on hacking. What he had to say was, hacking is how systems evolve. The reason we feel like we have to have a revolution because countries and governments aren't moving, and companies aren't moving fast enough, is because we have these rigid laws and systems and infrastructure that is all built in and exists today. And we have to be able to hack the system in order to make it move faster. So I want you guys to all think about hackability as the way we're going to speed the pace of evolution. So hacking is a key piece of this. It's working within the system and finding the loopholes and figuring out how you can push it farther, make it do things it wasn't meant to do. Because that's what we need to do to be able to do things like reduce emissions 50% over the next 8 years. So how fast can we change? Like, what seems, is it even plausible? So I've been in transportation now for 20 years. I'm going to give you a little transportation example. This is quite famous. This is Easter morning, 1900, New York City. You guys aren't going to be able to tell, but way here in the circle is the one car. Everything else is horses. So that was 1900, the turn of the century, New York City filled with horses instead of cars. 13 years later, all cars. And where's the horse? In the little blurry corner, you can't quite, on the far side, you can see a horse's ear. There was one horse and all the rest were cars. That was 13 years. So we can really move quickly. I want to just show you another one that's very famous in the transportation realm. This is a picture in Seattle. Here are 200 people and 177 cars. And as a transportation planner, I can tell you, oh my God, we've already taken off on-street parking. It's so congested. We can't do anything else. Maybe we should put an elevated highway in to move more cars. It's completely jam-packed. And here's what that really looks like statistically. 70% of us are alone in our cars. And just go back, I'm going to show you, go back, go forward. When you're sitting in that carway thinking, oh my God, it's so busy, congested out here, you are the congestion, and you riding around in your 2-ton vehicle is not a good method. So how do we get to this system? How did we manage to use up all our public space for cars? I'm going to read this. This was just last week, the deputy mayor of Paris. 50% of public space is occupied by private cars, which are used mostly by the richest and mostly by men, because it's mostly men who drive. And so in total, the richest men are using half the public space. So if we give the space to walking, biking, and public transit, you give the public space back the categories of people who are today deprived. So I just want you to think about rich white men have hacked the system. They've been in power and they've been doing it. And I guess to me, my next point is the power and importance of diversity. We need more and different people at the table. I'm sure that when they were thinking about giving roads 100% over to cars, they didn't have any bad ideas about it. Maybe the car manufacturers. But most of the planners thought, yeah, it's a great thing, we should do it. And they weren't realizing all the women and children and poor people who can't afford and don't have cars. So they just weren't thinking about those because they weren't at the table, they weren't including them. So I really, really believe, and Frida talked about this earlier, each one of you, your personal life experiences and your trials and your education and your thoughts is what's going to bring your knowledge and expertise and passion to these problems. So the power of diversity is incredible, and I want you guys to appreciate that and go with confidence as you work in groups and as you go on to companies or building your own. Really believe and know that what you personally have is what makes this possible. I would say that was absolutely why I was able to invent Zipcar and do things differently than anyone else had ever imagined doing it before. So I want to say, go teams, go. I look forward to it. I hope everyone, no matter what track you're working on, thinks about sustainability and inequality and diversity. Thanks.
Thank you, Robin, for that really interesting perspective on hacking. And it's also super exciting that you know Bruce, actually, because we had a fireside chat with him earlier this week, and it was really interesting, too. And as all of you know, this year's event is a little special. We have some of our hackers sitting here in our auditorium, and many more watching and participating virtually. All of our virtual hackers will be offered the same opportunities to participate in HackMIT 2021. Virtual hackers will receive the same swag and be judged in the same pool as in-person hackers. And in fact, all judging will take place online, and all mentors will also be available virtually.
This year, we will be using the platform GatherTown as a virtual hub for hackers. Some of you may already have used it for virtual team formation, but we will be hosting other mini events and fun bonding activities on Gather. Feel free to use this platform as a space for your team to work together or to meet other hackers.
At the same time, we'll be using Slack as our main form of communication. All hackers should join our Slack at go.hackmit.org/Slack21 to be notified when events are occurring, know what sponsor opportunities are available, and hear other announcements.
To find our complete schedule of events, please check out our Day of homepage at dayof.hackmit.org. If you'd like help or guidance on your project, go to the help queue at q.hackmit.org, and one of our amazing mentors who have volunteered today will assist you. We also are live streaming our workshops on our YouTube, so if you're watching via the live stream now, you're already in the right place.
Each year, HackMIT has also offered Mosaic, an event and engagement tracker that can potentially win you mini prizes. By attending workshops, events, or even taking a photo with your team at the photo booth, you get more tickets and more chances to win in our mini prize raffle. To submit, go to hackmit.org/mosaic21. Again, that's go.hackmit.org/mosaic21.
The main event, though, obviously, is the hackathon. So for those of you who are ready to start hacking, hacking officially started at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, which was 9 minutes ago, but we're running a little late on opening, so sorry about that. And it will end in 24 hours at 11 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow.
Finally, we want to make sure that this event is a safe and enjoyable experience for everybody. Before you start hacking, please review our code of conduct carefully to understand our guidelines. There are important details about project integrity, online behavior, and emergency contacts. So it's very important that you take the time to look at this document.
For those hackers who are attending in person here today, we implore that you follow all MIT COVID guidelines to keep our event and our school safe and healthy. That means wearing masks at all times while indoors, going outside or distancing yourself to eat or drink, and staying home if you feel ill. These are not just HackMIT rules, these are MIT-wide policies.
Great, so you're ready to start hacking, but all of a sudden you have a question. Where do you go to get help? So our team will be monitoring the help channel on Slack closely, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions and concerns there. Alternatively, you can go to go.hackmit.org/Zoom to ask us on Zoom for any questions that you have, or if you're in person, come to our help desk in the Johnson Arena.
So, as a recap, here are some of the important links for this weekend's hackathon. We'll leave it up for a few seconds so that you can screenshot it or write it down. Also, if you're in person and looking for a team, in-person team formation will be happening right after this ceremony in Kresge Rehearsal Room B. Finally, we wanted to thank all of our sponsors, our volunteers, and of course, the HackMIT organizing team for making HackMIT 2021 possible.
Now, without further ado, happy hacking!